and welcome back to another episode on Let's Talk Football Careers with myself, Barry, and today's guest, Terry Phelan. Thanks for joining us, Terry. How you doing?
No problem, Barry. It's nice to be on your show and obviously talking about all things football and a little bit about my career and, how I got to where I got to and what I'm actually doing now and, the ups and downs of football and how the game's changed and how supporters have changed and how grounds have changed and, and what's actually been brought into the game, the new methods, new training methods, new coaches. So glad to be on your show.
That's great, mate. Thanks very much. So, as I normally do right at the start, I'll do a summary just for anybody watching. So, I've put Irish international with 42 caps, played at the 1994 USA World Cup. You're an FA Cup winner from 1988 who played over 400 games in England before wrapping up your career in the USA and then New Zealand. And you're currently in India, I believe. Is that all correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, definitely. So I think you've hit the nail on the head there. So I've had a long career, an enjoyable career, and played for some wonderful football clubs and met some wonderful people, as well as in England and Ireland and all the British Isles, as well as the Americas and down to obviously New Zealand and now in the wonderful, I would say, colourful, bright lights of India.
Yeah, but I seen you on, I think it was Sunday, and you were at a festival or something, a street festival or something. I seen there, and it looked amazing.
Yeah, well, it was actually just outside the house. Actually, I don't know if it was a welcoming for me, but it's a festival what they have every year, and it's a wonderful festival what they have every year, and they have these these floats, and they have different statues on them, but they're all made out of flowers. So the detail what actually goes into them is actually unbelievable, and how they get it done over so many days is absolutely brilliant.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's funny how your career just takes you all around the world, eh? But could we go right back to the start, please, Terry? How was your upbringing, and from what age did you kind of realise you were good at football, and that was a sort of path you were
following? Obviously, I suppose it's like every boy who grew up in that era, in obviously the late 60s and the 70s, 80s. I think the 70s, obviously grown up in Salford, Irish parents grown up in Salford, and the old black and white TV, and I can recollect. I think I was in goals as a young boy, and diving around in the concretes. But I didn't really find that too amusing, if I'm honest. You've got a brick wall behind you. You've got, your chalk on the walls, and you're diving around on the pavement, which is uneven. So I declined that offer again, and I started playing outside, really. I started playing with my brother Tony outside with his friends. I was a young boy, probably 7 or 8 years of age. Really loved the game, enjoyed the fun of it more than anything, and the enjoyment of it. And I thought to myself, just keep playing. I didn't think anything else. I didn't think about, being a professional footballer or being on TV or playing in World Cups and that. I think you just want to go out there as a young boy, enjoy it, kick a ball about, and enjoy it with your friends, really. Yeah. So I think that's what it was all part and parcel of. And, as it gets more serious, maybe you get picked for your school team. It gets a little bit more serious than just a little bit. But I still found the game fun. I just wanted to have fun with it, in, on the streets, playing Kirby, playing Wally, all those wonderful games on cobblestones, and, falling down, getting up, rubbing your knee, licking the wounds, as they say, but enjoying it. And we played all day long, didn't we? If it was 1v1 Wally, if it was 10v10, we'd play. We'd play Wembley, we'd play World Cups, and you'd be out there for days. The only problem is the person who brought the ball, if they decided they wanted to go in, that the game was finished.
Yeah. And you could never fall out with that person that had the ball either, because they just say, "Well, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home." And
well, you had to be his best. You had to be his best friend, didn't you?
At different times, it's great when you look back, really. But I think that kind of toughens you up as well. The football players for me nowadays, they're all shaped from, maybe 8, 9 year old now, and they're unnurtured into the best possible football player they can be. And they've made thousands of pounds before they've kicked the ball. Whereas you guys that played in this era, you really had to make your own way, didn't you?
Well, I mean, like I said before, it was about enjoyment. There was no pressure on you. And now a 7-year-old's in an academy,
Mm-hmm.
a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, they're in their academies now. They're starting to put them in academies now at 6 years of age. So, does that add that little bit of pressure for that young boy? Does he know how to handle the pressure? They just want to play and enjoy. And I think they are going back to the days now in academies. If you look at, they're getting the ball rolling a lot more with the kids. There's no standing about. They're getting the ball rolling. But, our ball was rolling every day. We had no coaches on the streets. You played the game yourself. You learned yourself. You learned off the TV. But yeah, I think now, and that's the way it's gone. Obviously, the streets are a little bit different now. There's more traffic on the streets now. Parents demand better facilities and better venues for the children, especially if they're paying for it. So, it's up to then the private providers to provide them facilities for the parents. And there's nothing you can do about it. They're in a safe environment, the kids, Am I saying we wasn't in a safe environment? No, but, we had more sort of like options just to go out and play. Now the children don't have that as much, if you know what I mean. And I think that's been taken away. But they've got better. They've got better facilities now, better grounds. Like I said, we grew up the tough way, and probably 20 years or 30 years before us and all. We sort of like grew up the same way.
For me, sorry to interrupt. That's how you guys have rattled out over 500 games in your career. And not one of you have said to me, "Oh God, it was a long season. I was tired. You should see that." He's just got on it. No. I think they've nurtured the players, but they can't actually handle that amount of games nowadays.
Well, I mean, listen. Sorry to butt in. Times change. Cars get better. Industries get better. And if you look at football in a nutshell, stadiums have got better, haven't they? You can never take that nostalgia away from the likes of the stadiums we went to. And it had to improve, it had to involve what it's done. But when you're going back to the days on the streets, like I said before, you had nobody telling you what to do. You just found out yourself. And if you was a talented player, you knew you was talented because you get picked for the school team, the district team. You get picked for your the Manchester or the Salford teams, Lancashire teams. And that was our pathway. And then schoolboys, and then put on. Now the pathway is U7s, 8s, 9s, 10, 11, 12. And if you don't make it, say from U7s to U9s, you're getting released. Like U10s maybe, and then you're going back to club football. There's no right, there's no right, and it's no wrong. It's the way it is now. It's the way academies are. And people say, well, allow them to play at school, allow them to play with your friends. That's what we did. We had the school teacher just go out there and play at Mr. Field and go and show them what you did. And that's the way it was back then. And obviously you progressed into Salford boys or Manchester boys, Lancashire boys, and then you got scouted that way. You signed schoolboy forms, and then you went in. You signed an apprenticeship 2 years, and then a pro maybe 2 years, and that was the format. Now I think the game now, for the children, they've got more options, but they've still got to perform. You've still got to perform.
And I think that's where a lot of the teams, like, that you've played with Leeds and Swansea and that, they actually benefited at the time because all the local talent was kind of kept local. Whereas now, you could be a young football player, 10, 11, 12-year-old, and there's teams all over the world keeping a wee side eye on you and everything.
Well, it's a valid question, that, and I'm going to try and answer that. The world's got more global now, hasn't it? It's not like back in our day, it was Scotland, England, Wales, Ireland, and Northern Ireland. Now you're competing against the rest of the world. Kids can come in from the rest of the world now. So if you're an 18-year-old and you're in the U18s, they can bring players in from the rest of the world the same. So you've got to be even. I think now it's even tougher now because back in our day, you competed against your own little nations around, whereas now you compete against the world, and kids have got to be really better than what they bring in. And this is why they've got to work that extra little bit harder on their own and all, you know.
I think you enjoyed it better working in your time, doing it in your time rather than doing it now. I think with everything that comes with it, you were able to enjoy.
Well, I think no, I
and
think football's football, and listen, it was difficult in our times. Don't forget, it was difficult in our times. You know, you look at are the children or the students overcoached now? You know, it's debatable. You know, was we overcoached? Like I said, big chunk of ours was playing on the streets, going playing with your mates, playing for the school, you know, and then playing for Salford Boys, Manchester Boys, and then evaluating that, and then maybe getting picked up by, like I got picked up, Manchester City, Leeds, come in for me. A whole load of clubs come in for me. And my objective was, okay, then let me see where I can go and maybe break into the first team. You know, and that was at a young age, maybe 12 years of age. So I think, you know, the game's evolved in lots of ways. You know, the game's involved in the academy structure, you know, in the youth sector, as well as in the first team and stadiums and fans. You know, fans are worldwide now. Fans come from all over the world now to see their team. So it's really gone really global now.
And it's like the internet. I mean, it's brought a lot of good, it's brought a lot of negativity as well. But it's like you say, it's just the way it just moves on the way time. You know, you've got
It's just the way it evolves. You know, everything evolves. If it's for the good, if it's for the bad, you know, it's debatable. But you know, think about it, we've got to look after, you know, the environment and all. And I think what's happening now, the environment's being created to look after people.
you have to look after yourself. Where it's now, what you say, that it's the environment's looking after the people rather than the people trying to look after their own environment as it is.
Yeah. I mean, listen, on the streets, you looked after your own environment. You know, now the children have got, you know, more, they've got better equipment, they've got better fields, they've got, you know, better sports science, better strength and conditioning. So they've got all them nucleuses, you know, we didn't have that when we was younger.
No.
It was just get out there, you know, rub your nose, you know, spit on your hand, rub your leg, get the blood off you if you fall down, and you got on with it, which was great. And you know, it didn't do me any harm.
Nah. And even now, I mean, do you have a lot of like niggles with injuries that, you know, bother with your knees or your hips or anything at that age you're at now? Or are you still
I think every footballer in the world, whether they're present or ex-footballers, will always have niggles. Every sportsman will always have a niggle here or a niggle, whether it's in the back, whether it's in the knees, whether it's in the ankles. You're gonna always have niggles. Yeah, you still have the old niggle. I mean, I don't go into competitive matches anymore. You know, I stay away from them. I play the odd charity match now and again, but you can still get the old twinge in there and all when you're playing these charity matches, because these charity matches, you know, they say it's for charity, but it can be a little bit daunting when people are flying into you because they've got to prove a point. So, you know, I only play probably in select ones.
No, make sure you know the lineups first. Did I touch into when you joined Leeds?
I got picked up by Alan Clark as a 12-year-old, and I could have went to Manchester City as a 12-year-old. I declined Manchester City. I was a City fan. My first shirt was a City shirt. So obviously Manchester City was in the old first division there. They was buying players for millions, and you know, people were saying, "Well, Terry, you know, you've got a chance maybe at Leeds because the team's getting older." Alan Clark's really trying to bring the youngsters together, which he was doing, like, you know, the likes of myself, Dennis Irwin, John Sheridan was there. You know what Dennis Irwin went on to do, John Sheridan went on to do, and myself. So, yeah, he brought a nucleus of top quality young players in. And, you know, I was lucky enough to be part of that with an old good friend of mine, Mark Russell, who's a Manchester lad. So, and Darren Sheridan and all, John Sheridan's brother. So he was bringing them in as times went on. And then obviously Alan Clark, you know, vacated his position and Eddie Gray come in. And Eddie Gray took it on and he really involved the younger players. And he wanted the players to go out there and be exciting. You know, he didn't overcoach. He's wee man, get out there and wrung the legs off them. Go and do what. Because I think maybe a reminder, because I used to play in the left wing, so maybe I don't know if I reminded him of himself a little bit. You know, because I used to love running. You know, getting up and down, taking players on, and being exciting, because that's how I learned off the TV. My first game I probably watched was 76 FA, 75, 76 FA Cup final, 75 League Cup final, 76 FA Cup final, and then you know, 77, 78 World Cup. Iconic games, and that's what grabbed me. And I always said to myself, maybe one day I'd love to play on that TV and play in a World Cup and an FA Cup final. But I think Leeds was a good space, because I left home. Yeah, I left my friends, my family. I left home to pursue a career, and sometimes you have to give things up. You have to give, something up to grab something else. And obviously, my domain was I want to be a professional football player. That's all I wanted to be.
If you weren't a football player, what could you even see yourself doing?
Sorry?
If you didn't play football or weren't good enough to play football, say, what do you think you'd actually be doing?
I probably would have went into athletics, because I love running. You know, I love long distance running, middle distance running. I probably would have went into athletics if I'm honest. And I know obviously then it wasn't like it is now, professional. It was amateur. But like everybody else, you go out and get a job. You go out and get a job, and you figure that out along the way. But you got to have that little bit of luck and all. So I had a little bit of luck at Leeds when I made my debut. So, being a young lad and playing in the youth team, and being really young and playing in the reserves teams at 15 and 16 was absolutely fantastic. And don't forget, back in them days, and we're not dinosaurs, we're just saying back in them days, you mix with first team players.
That was a bad way.
First team players would bring you out onto the training field and say, look, do a little bit of work with us. I remember going out there with Peter Barnes, ex-Man City, who was a hero of mine when he was at Man City, Peter Barnes. There was Joe Jordan, Frank Worthington. So they pulled me out just to serve some balls and cross some balls with my left foot. And it was a joy. It was a privilege. It was a privilege to be out there. With world, back then, international players at the highest level. So, no, I think, and we learned an awful lot. Obviously, you did an apprenticeship, and that put you in your place as an apprenticeship. You did a 2 years apprenticeship, which put you in your place, and that tested you, because obviously the apprenticeship, cleaning boots, cleaning balls, cleaning changing rooms, brushing the stadiums, divoting the grass at the end of the season. We had to do all that, and that's the way it was. And if you refuse to do it, then that maybe that ideology of, well, is maybe you're not gonna make it on the field then.
Yep, aye. And a lot of players as well, they speak about, they played on with a lot of injuries, and they played on when they were tired and that as well. But you were actually grateful to be in that team, and you were scared to come out of that. Once you got in the team as well, it was the same mentality, wasn't it? That you'd have to, you've done everything to stay in that.
I think that's your mentality, isn't it? That's what makes you. Once you get in the team. When I got into the youth teams, whether it was at school, you wanted to stay in there, so you had to perform. And that was it. You had to do a little bit of extra work. You had to perform. You couldn't rest on your laurels. And you get to Salford Boys, who I played for Salford Boys, it was the same there. You had no given right just to be picked. You had to work hard to be picked and on the football field. And I always had that in me. I said, look, I've got to work hard if I want to be picked in the next game. And obviously then when you go to your professional club, Leeds United, and you want to be in the youth team, don't forget you've got to get somebody out of that spot. So what you've got to do, you've got to perform, because you've got 20... you've got 21 other lads there. Take the goalkeepers out. You've got lads who maybe 2 or 3 who want your position, and that becomes difficult. So there's pressure there. So getting injured is part and parcel of it. But if you look after yourself in the right way, I used to do that. Then them injuries are not as much as I'd say.
No, and it's so cliche. The best ability is availability. As long as you're not injured and keep yourself fit and you perform, and you always get your chance, eh?
Yeah, and that's the thing, you get your chance, you've got to nail it down, haven't you, really? You've got, it's like anything in life. If somebody gives you a chance, you've got to do the best you can. But number one thing, you've got to love what you're doing and you've got to enjoy it. I love what I was doing and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the moments, I enjoyed the battles, individual battles, collective battles. I enjoyed that, and that's what it was all about. I was a very quiet boy off the field, but on the field, it was like a different beast. If you really want something and you really want it hard enough, then you've got to play that way. No matter who you're playing against, you've got to play that way. And I don't mean going around kicking people, but I'm on about making sure that, number one, you're enjoying it. Number two, yeah, you're having an element of fun but number three, that when you come off the field, you've give 100%. And the coach can come up to you and go, pat on the back, doesn't have to say nothing, pat on the back, and that was it.
And that's the thing that the fans will buy into that. I've said that to every ex-player I've spoke to regards that. If you can get the three key factors right, we as fans can't ask for any more than that. And if we can see you're giving everything, you always, throughout your career, you're never going to get hassled.
It starts in the youth team, doesn't it? That's where you really start it. You're playing school, you're playing youth tournaments, then you're playing for your district or your city. It starts there, and then you've got to bring it to the next level. You've got to bring it to the next level because you've got to step up. Nobody's going to hold your hand. No. Nobody's going to, back then and it was tough. It was tough. It was really, really tough. Yeah. But you had to be part of it. If you wasn't part of it, a lot of lads, I've seen a lot of wonderful, talented players just fall off the wayside because maybe mentally they just didn't have that. Maybe I wasn't the biggest player. But maybe I just had that little bit of mentality and that drive and passion and hunger and desire and commitment to go, listen, if I want to get up there and I want to put food on the table later on in life, this is what I have to do.
Oh, that's brilliant, man. It's a brilliant attitude. It's great to touch into it. Can I move into Swansea? When you really, this is where you're playing the majority of your games. You're probably about 20-year-old here. I've done 45 appearances, and was it Terry Phelan that you joined along?
Yeah. It was Terry. It's ironic, really, because Alan Clark brought me in. Eddie Gray gave me obviously my debuts in the reserves and in the first team at Leeds. Played in the first team, which was fantastic. Leeds fans, wonderful, no problem at all. Really loved my time. But then, a new manager comes in. Billy Brenner comes in, and he wants to change the philosophy a little bit. Maybe he didn't see me as a fullback because I went back to fullback there, or he did see me as a winger. Maybe he thought I was too small in a back line. And I got released. Dennis Irwin got released at that time. And he brought his own philosophy, his own players in, which is okay. And the thing with me, of course I was disappointed because I thought, you put from 12 years of age to 19 years of age, 7 and odd years in there, you put in a lot of sweat, blood, tears, and effort, and then you get released, which was a bombshell to me, tell you the truth. And you think to yourself, what happens now? But the good thing was, because I was playing the reserve games at Leeds very early on in my career, and first teams at 17, 18, you get seen. People see you're in the shop window, as they say, but you still got to perform. And obviously, I went back home. I never told my mother that I'd been released. I said I was just on holidays because I was a little bit embarrassed. And, it's tough. It really is tough. You've got friends around you. What's happened? Was you not good enough? Was it you? And I didn't believe it was me. I thought I got let down, really. But it happens in life. What you have to do, dust yourself down, bring yourself together, get that character together again. And I remember Bobby Gould, ironically, he was at Bristol Rovers. He said, listen, I've got John Scales down here. John Scales got released and all. Come down to Bristol Rovers. But Terry Orriff jumped in. He says, listen, there's me, Tommy Hutchison. We're building something down in Swansea. He said, come down to the Welsh Riviera. The weather's beautiful. The water's lovely and warm. And I'm thinking, well, it's rather that or sit in Salford and mope about. So obviously Tommy Hutchison was one of my heroes at Man City. And got me bags. I was down at Swansea. There was no hesitation.
Brilliant. And you had a great time down there. Although you were only there, it was a one full season I've got down here, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. I just didn't know what it was. I got down there. I enjoyed my football. I enjoyed the way of life in Swansea. I enjoyed the supporters, the fans. The club was great. Terry and Tommy was great. They really looked after me, and the players and all. I still keep in touch with some wonderful players what was down there, and it was great. I really enjoyed my football, but the ironic thing is I'd done a year. I'd gone back home. I'd come back. I'd done pre-season. I was flying in pre-season because I always believed that I had to do my own pre-season before I did the club pre-season. So that's what I used to do. I used to do probably 2.5 weeks of my own fitness and then do the club. So I wasn't, I was ready. I wasn't stiff. I was ready. So, yeah. And then come back and he went, I'm giving you another 2 years contract. So I was on a 2-year contract. He said, I'm giving you another 2-year contract. You've got 3 years left. Brilliant. I went, oh, Terry, thank you very much. And I'm giving you a little bit more money. I said, thank you. This is brilliant. This is dreams come true. I want to stay at Swansea for the rest of my life. He comes to me about 3 weeks later and he goes, I've got a bit of a problem. I don't know how to tell you. I said, well, tell me what's wrong? He went, we've decided to sell you. I said, well, hang on a minute. I've just signed a 2-year contract. I said, what have I done wrong? Have I been playing bad? He says, no, if you've been playing bad, we wouldn't have given you the 2 years. So he says, we're selling you to Wimbledon. Wimbledon? I said, well, I don't play tennis. I said, what are you on about? He says, no, he gave me a clip around the ear. He went, no, we're selling you to Wimbledon because they've got a team there and Bobby Gould and Don Howe there. I said, Bobby Gould from Bristol Rovers. He says, yeah, and he's brought John Scales with him. We want to buy you. So, it's amazing how things swing around.
Yeah.
And I says, oh, really? He says, yeah, we're selling you. We've done the deal. You're off in the next couple of days.
Imagine that now.
What? So anyway, I was off to Wimbledon, the Crazy Gang. I didn't know it was called the Crazy Gang then. Otherwise, I would have never have went to the Crazy Gang. I would have known it was called the Crazy Gang.
You found out quick, really. God, you've got Laurie Sanchez, Warren Button. I've actually spoke to both the guys, Warren and Laurie, on the podcast. You also had John Fashanu, Dennis Wise, Vinnie Jones, Dave Bessett. I mean, you must have felt that when you were in amongst that right away.
Well, listen, being a Northerner and then being a Northerner and then dropping down to Swansea and then going to the bright lights of southwest London and then sitting in a porter cabin for 4 hours before somebody come and see me. And then when Bobby Gould come and see me, I says, Bob, where's the ground? Where's the pitch? Where's the stadium? He went, it's just right there. Have a look out the window. And that was the stadium, Plough Lane. Well, I was shocked. I was in shock. Don't forget, you're at Leeds United, big stadium, Swansea, big stadium, and coming to little Plough Lane. And I'm like, oh, my word, have I done the right thing here? He said, no, you'll be okay. Don't worry. And it took me 6 months to settle in. And if Bob does listen to this, it took me 6 months to settle in, Bob. And he'll tell you, I knocked on his door every day and I was like, no, I want to go back to Swansea. And he's like, no, you settle down. You'll be okay. No, I want to go back to Swansea. I'm not fitting in here. And he went, you will fit in. And I remember Vinnie Jones coming up to me one day and him saying, I hear you used to play for Leeds. I said, yeah, I played for Leeds. He went, oh, lovely club. I'd love to play for them one day. Vinny ended up playing for him, actually. Mm-hmm. And he says, oh, can you tell me a bit about him? I said, yeah, I was telling him about the fans, about Ellen Road, the match days, the nostalgia, the beauty of it, the history of Leeds United, steeped in history, the players what had been there. And I remember him turning around and saying, listen, you'll be all right here. I'll look after you. And then that was sort of like that little bit of reassurance because there was as mad as hatters. Mm-hmm. Everybody looked after me. There was as mad as hatters. And let me tell you something now. There were some very, very, very talented players there.
And there was.
Very talented. And I'm on about very talented. I don't care what anybody says that we played the long ball. No, we played long passes into areas what the opposition and they couldn't handle it. We played to our strengths. We played in a way that, we didn't mess around. We got at teams, and we had little Dennis Wise, Carlton Fairver, who just passed away, God rest his soul, John Fashanu, Alan Clark up front, Terry Gibson, midfield Loris Sanchez, Vinnie Jones, Stevie Galliers, Wally Downs at the back, John Scales, myself, Eric Young, Dave Besson, Andy Fawn, Brian Gale, and then we had the young ones coming through, and all. So, there was an array of wonderful players there. Terry Gibson played for Manchester United. John Fashanu was at Millwall.
A good mixture of age and youth, and people when they come at the end of the career with that bit extra desire.
Dennis Wise was at Southampton, got released. Carlton Fairweather, great left foot on Carlton. So you look at that nucleus of players, and then the younger ones coming through. But I think the beauty was Don and Bobby. They never adapted anything. They kept the same philosophy, and all they did was brought players in who could. I come in for Nigel Winterburn. Nigel Winterburn went to obviously Arsenal, so I come in there, and then obviously trying to fit into Nigel's, because Nigel's a cult hero at Wimbledon. Trying to fit into his boots was very difficult, It was difficult, He was trying to buy the fans over and get the buy-in from the fans. So I eventually did that. I think it was a game against Newcastle, and I think it was the one where Vinny got hold of Paul Gascoigne, Ghoulies, and I think that game. Not talking about the Ghoulies and obviously Vinny and Paul Gascoigne. Something clicked, and I just thought, I'd have to go out there and play. I have to prove a point. And I did come into the change rooms afterwards. 6 months later, the fans got around me and said, "We knew you could do it. We knew it was in there for you." And it was brilliant. Brilliant set of lads. Brilliant atmosphere. Mad as hatters. Cut clothes up. Throw bread rolls anywhere. Take your key and dump your stuff in a lift in a 5-star hotel. And nobody knows, we used to drive around in a minibus. So there'd be 12 of us in a minibus, and we used to go to the local games, like we'd travel down to West Ham, or we'd go to we used to travel around in a little minibus, which was madness. It was like the Ant Hill mob.
Did you not try and use that minibus to go to the FA Cup final? Did I not hear that?
We did. We actually tried to use that. We tried to get hold of Sam Haman, who was obviously the owner, and say, "Look, Sam, is there any chance of us going to Wembley in there?" And I think there was somebody who came in who offered us a lot of money to go to Wembley in the minibus, but we wanted a bit more nostalgia, and because I think then the TVs come on the buses, didn't they? And you had a bit of banter with the opposition. So we never really got to take the old minibus to Wembley. No, we went in a little bit of style.
It was well travelled away. But see how you touched on saying about your athletics.
Jenny Archer, who trained Olympians, and Linford Christie was one of the Olympians she trained. Obviously, Bobby Gould and Donald brought her into Wimbledon, because that's all we did is run. But it didn't bother me. So she was brilliant, Jenny. And then, on a Sunday, I remember tapping into her, and Dennis Wise tapping into her and going, on a Sunday, Jenny, is it all right if we come down to the track and maybe do a little bit of extra, get rid of the lactic acid and not, out of the body? She said, "Oh yeah, come down." So I just started used to go down. Me and Dennis used to go down. I think she was at Kingstonians. So we used to go down regular basis and get rid of the lactic acid. And then she used to come in on a Tuesday and take the fitness day, morning and afternoon. So, we really enjoyed it. It was hard work, but we really enjoyed it, and still keep in touch with Jenny. Yeah. I think Jenny was a big part of my transition coming from Wimbledon and going to Manchester City, because, keeping fit was one thing that I really look forward to, is keeping fit and healthy, and I love my fitness anyway. So bringing Jenny in, it didn't bother me. It was absolutely fantastic.
though, I mean, you did take Wimbledon to 7th in the league, and like you said, the FA Cup as well. But I mean, was that probably the best dressing room and squad you were in amongst? Or you know, obviously excluding Ireland and different teams, but that must have been something that you look back on now,
Well, like I just said a few moments ago, you know, when you look at Wimbledon, you're looking at them. People got the wrong idea of them. They thought they was bullies. They thought they was thugs. They thought they couldn't play. They thought there was nobody liked us. We didn't care. But you know, nobody liked to play against us. Now that's their problem, not our problem. You know, it's like going into a boxing ring. If you don't like going up against that opponent, then you don't get in the boxing ring. You know, yeah, we got beat. We got beat off teams. Yeah, but you know, we used to give the fans value for money because we used to roll our sleeves up, pull our socks up, and get at teams. That was football. It was about winning the game. You know, it was about getting the ball from one end into the danger zones early and putting, you know, back fours under pressure. And they talk about a pressing game now. We was doing it at Wimbledon. We used to press the living daylights out of oppositions. We used to play, they're on about a high line. We used to play on the halfway line because we had the quickest back four. So we'd invite teams to go on, put it over us then. We had a goalkeeper in David Besson, he'd put balls into areas where it hurt the opposition. And if you look at that changing room, you know, the fun and the enjoyment in it was unbelievable, you know, because we all had this common goal. We want to win football games and nobody likes us. We're up against everybody. So when we go out there, we was always ready for it. From the Monday to the Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff, we was ready. We was ready to play. We was like going out there to play. And we didn't care who we played against, and people said we couldn't play. Maybe it was horrible to play against. Maybe teams couldn't fathom it out. Maybe they didn't like that battle. Maybe they didn't like that. Get in the faces, get up against them. Yeah, people turn around and says, yeah, we kicked the living daylights out of teams, but we didn't. We just played to our strengths really. If the ball was there to be won, we went and won it. If we got stuck into each other. You look at
the careers of your teammates for Wimbledon have went on to have, whether they stayed at Wimbledon or moved on to, like I said, Loris Sanchez, Warren Barton, Dennis Wise. I mean, you can keep going on. There's so many of them all went on. They learned so much there, didn't they?
John Scales played for Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur. Dave Besson went to Newcastle. Andy Thorne went to Newcastle, $1 million and $1 million. And I think Dave Besson went to Chelsea and all. I think he had a stint at Chelsea. Dennis Wise goes to Chelsea for 1.34 million. John Fashanu goes to Aston Villa. I go to Man City for 2.5 million. Keith Cool goes to Man City 2.5 million. Managers was quick enough buying us because they must have seen something in us.
It's been the heart and the fight, and obviously the ability. But they know what they're getting when they signed you guys in. Peter Reid signed you at Man City. That must have, so you finally got to Man City then. So that was your boyhood club. What was that like then?
Well, I mean, listen, like I said to you before, if we rewind a little bit, my first shirt was a Manchester City shirt. My first pair of football boots was from next door, and the lady next door gave me the Man City shirt, old, blue and white, obviously, and the football boots. And I always remember, I've still got a picture of the football boots of me playing for the school in them. And they are old football, like 1950s football boots. But no, it was great. And like I said, if we rewind, I could have signed for him at 12 years of age. Ken Barnes come round to the house. I declined that, went to Leeds. Obviously, Leeds to Swansea to Wimbledon. Won the FA Cup at Wimbledon. Absolutely fantastic. Broke into the Irish national side from Wimbledon. My heart's always been in Wimbledon. It always will be there. But there's a time when you want to leave, and there's a time when you've got to, your time's up. 5 years at Wimbledon. I thought I'd done my time up. I didn't want to, drop down the pecking order in the playing wise, because that's what can happen to you, because you kind of get, fed up, and I didn't want to do that. and this is where Jenny Archer helped me an awful lot with the mindset, going to a big club, the fitness, and yeah, I mean, I could have went to Barcelona, Ajax, I could have went to a lot of clubs. Barcelona offered around about 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, but that wasn't enough. Sam wanted a lot more money. He wanted 2.5 million. That was his figure. You know, I used to bang on his door. Sam, come on. You know, 1.5 million. You bought me for 90 or 100,000 pounds. Come on, Sam. Come on, please let me go. And he says, you know, no, just relax. Somebody will come in for you, but I don't want you to play. I just want you to train. I just want you to train with Jenny. And I trained with Jenny because he didn't want me to get injured. And the last hour, Peter Reid, Manchester City come in. So, you know, as a young boy, you know, I ended up signing for Manchester City, which was absolutely fantastic. I still do say now it was too much money. I still say it was too much money. I really do. I was an international playing for Ireland, but, you know, going to Manchester City was a dream. And, you know, the blueprint of what Peter was, you know, selling us and the fans and the fan base, it was absolutely brilliant because, like I said, my first shirt was an old blue and white, sky blue, white trimming, cuffs, absolutely brilliant.
You were back at the last Manchester derby, though, I believe. You were invited over for that.
Yeah, I was actually, and
Great time.
it was fantastic to go home and be brought in as an ex-player, and obviously we had a bit of a do meeting of other ex-players, which was fantastic from different eras. You know, Joe Corrigan, Ray Ranson, obviously Peter Reid was their ex-manager. Obviously Keith Curle there, David White, Ian Brightwell, you know, Gary Owen, Tommy Booth. You know, I could go on and on and on. These are people I watched growing up, you know. And I remember going to Manchester City probably as a 9-year-old, and I think we went in with the school. And I'll tell you a little story here. They give me a brochure, a little brochure like with all the players in there. I got the players to sign it, and I signed it myself. Okay, I've still got that little brochure I have signed. You know, I didn't sign for him when I was 12. I signed for him years later, and that's the ironic part of the story. Full circle, absolutely brilliant going there and mixing now with this new hub, this machine, what's growing, not just in Manchester, but it's growing worldwide, and what they've done there and what the owners have done there and the vision, what they've done. It's absolutely fantastic. And to see the Man City fans, the younger, middle-aged and the old ones, seeing the rewards, what's been put in there. And as a fan myself, it's absolutely so rewarding to see where the club's gone to and the trophies, what they've won. And they've won don't forget, they've won a treble and all. So it's the same as Manchester United now, you know.
But to be fair, you know, when they came in, they did say everything that they said that they were going to achieve, they've done it, and
and that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about having that vision. It's like when you're a young football player and saying to yourself, listen, if I need to achieve that, I've got to work hard. I've got to have that vision. I've got to work harder than the next person next to me. And if you look at Manchester City as a whole, and listen, there's wonderful clubs around the world, not just Man City. There's wonderful clubs around the world, but I think what they've done is fantastic, not just for the club, but for the community around and the fan base all over the world. I think it's absolutely wonderful.
And they've still managed to keep it as a right proper football club as well, and that's finding the right balance, because sometimes it can go the other way.
Well, I think that's then the right ownership's coming in, isn't it? It was topsy-turvy when we played there, you know. I was gutted when I left Manchester City. I didn't want to leave Manchester City. My dream was to stay at the club, and obviously Peter Reid went and we was yo-yoing with managers, and then there was a lot of stuff going on upstairs, and you know, people were getting disgruntled, and it's not good. And when you come in as a player, you know, you want harmony. You're not going to get it all the time. But I went there to win things. I never went there because I went there to win things. I won something at Wimbledon. You go to a bigger club to win things and be part of that history. And obviously, I'm part of the history at Manchester City. Yeah, I never won anything, but I was still part of the history. And I take my hat off to the fans. Now it's their day. It's wonderful for the
yards as well, eh? And it's nice to see them get their awards. Can we just touch into your famous moment that certainly it was the first thing that came up when I looked at your Man City career, but go versus Spurs and FA Cup at Main Road. Go and just talk us through that, please.
Well, yeah, I mean, we was talking about this the other week when I was meeting up with the older guys and the younger ones, Ian Brightwell, Richard Edgill, and Paul Lake, the great Paul Lake, fantastic. And, you know, we remember that day because we really fought, and the buzz around the blue half of Manchester was absolutely fantastic. It was building up to quarterfinals. Yeah. It was at Main Road. It was a packed house, you know, and it was leading up to it. And, you know, we was really up for the game, really, really up for it. And nothing was going to stop us. We thought, yeah, we might have a chance here. And anyway, we got there. We're 1-0 up first half. No problems at all. Everybody's happy. Going to the changing rooms. Come out afterwards. You know when they say you should never go into the changing rooms. The place is jumping. We come out. Bang, before we know it, we're 2-1 down. We don't know what's hit us. 3-1 down, 4-1 down. And obviously, you know, I've been threatening to do it for many a times, you know, picking the ball up. They say we don't play out the back and all that back them days. So obviously Tony Colton rolled the ball to me and I just went, I'm just going to have a go here. I've been threatening. I'm just going to have a go, see what happens, see what opens up. People say it was poor defending. I just say it was great skill, endeavourment, creativity, and a bit of nostalgia in there.
Roberto Carlos. You just turned into prime Roberto Carlos.
Yeah, but listen, we had nothing to lose, so I went for it. Had a good go of it. Picked the ball up. It just opened up, and then he ended up being in front. I think it was Ian Walker was the goalkeeper then, if I'm right. And I just slipped it past him, 4-2. If you look at the clip, I didn't really celebrate. You know, I didn't really celebrate because it was 4-2 down. We tried to get back in the game, but I just don't think we had much options then.
But it's an amazing moment to be able to take yourself back there. But you did say that you were sold to Chelsea, but you never really knew much about this. You were just kind of told you were sold again, eh?
Well, it was sad, really, because I didn't really know about it. You know, I just got told I was getting sold to Chelsea. Well, I told him I didn't want to go anywhere. I mean, you know, I think it was Alan Ball then. Obviously, Peter Reid had gone. Brian Orton, who was building something at Manchester City, he'd gone. There was movements up in the the chairman's room, and you know things wasn't too healthy up there. You know, they was looking at takeover bids between Francis Lee and Peter Swells, and then Alan Ball come in, and you know after he just come to me one day and said, "Look, we're selling you to Chelsea." I said, "Well, I don't really want to go. I'm not interested." You know, I had a little bit of an hamstring injury at the time. I said, I'm not really interested. I'd like to start Man City. You know, I'd like to see where we can go. And well, we're selling you. We need the money. And off I went. Don't forget, they sold David White and all before me. And off I went to Chelsea. And I sat down with Glenn Hoddle and he said, look, this is what we're building. We're going to be bringing a lot of foreigners in. We want to build something here. We see you part as the team. We're going to play it as a wing back. I know you can do that job. Dan Petrescu is going to be on the other side as a wing back. We're going to have Frank LeBuff in the middle of you, and we'll play players either side of him. Dennis Wise will be in that holding midfield player. Gianfranco Sola up front with Mark Hughes, just playing as a number 10. Vialli had come in and all. Roberto Di Matteo had come in and all. Jody Morris was in there. Frank Sinclair, Andy Myers. Michael Dubry, Eddie Newton,
John Spencer there.
John Spencer was there, who I played with at Everton and all. So you know, you can go on and on and on with that wonderful team, and then obviously Glenn gets up and he leaves and he goes to England, and I'm like, hang on a minute, we're building something here. Ruud Gullit come in and all, the big Ruud Gullit come in. We're building something here, and we're onto something. I think we got to the semi-finals of the FA Cup that year. We got beat off Manchester United 2-1, but you could see signs that we was building. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that was it. I mean you were there for 2 years. You were there. That was from about 28 to 30-year-old, and then you went to Everton. I believe Joe Royle signed you.
Yeah, I think when we talk about limited options, and I think what started happening then was that rotation policy started coming in. And I'm like, rotation policy. I just want to play football. I don't want one game on, 2 games off, 1 game on, 2. I don't think that does me any good. And then I had the opportunity. I should, in hindsight, should have really left Chelsea. No, I shouldn't have. I should have stayed there, and I would have won trophies. I know that, but at the end of the day, you're a football player and you want to play. You want to get on with it. You want to play. You want to be part of the dressing room. You don't want to be sat in the stands. And I don't think that's no life for a football player to be sat in the stands. Different if you're injured, but when you're healthy and you want to play and you're knocking on the door and saying, "Why am I not playing?" What more do I need to do? I'm working hard in training. I'm doing my extra work. I'm playing in the reserves. What more do I need to do? And obviously, managers have different opinions, don't they? And I ended up going. If somebody wanted me and they wanted me to play, I went to Everton.
That was good enough. Yeah.
Sorry.
I was saying that was good enough. If somebody wanted you to play and you had a wee bit, you liked the project, that was good. That was good enough.
Well, I mean, I went to Everton. Everton was struggling. Andy Hinchcliffe had been injured. Joe said, "Look, come in and do a job for us." And I went there, and I went to Everton. And again, you look at Leeds, you look at Man City, you look at Chelsea, you look at Everton, you look at the fan base, even down to Swansea and Wimbledon. These clubs, the fan base was magnificent, and yeah, Everton was a fantastic club, working man's club. Hard. Liverpudlians, Evertonians. I would say Evertonians, obviously, but no, I enjoyed it at Everton. It was absolutely fantastic. Duncan Ferguson was there. Little Johnny Spencer, Gary Speed.
Did you cross paths with Walter Smith as well in the point?
Sorry?
Did you cross paths with Walter Smith as well?
Yeah, but before Walter, obviously Joe Royle was there, and obviously Howard Kendall come back in, and tried to revive the club a little bit. We were struggling, but if you look at the players we had. We don't know why we were struggling, because we had some quality players. Nicky Barmby was there, Craig Sharp, myself, Earl Barrett was there, and Anders Limpens, Andrew Kanchelskis was there. So we had a wonderful array of players there. But Paul Rideout, Joe Parkinson, all these players who had been there, seen it and done it, and then obviously there you go, and you try to rebuild again. And obviously, Joe goes. Howard Kendall comes in. Howard Kendall comes in there, and tries to revive the club. It's not quite happening. He goes, and then Walter Smith comes in, and Walter wants to bring his own style, his own players in, like every manager does. There's nothing wrong with that. I got an injury. I believe it was against Tottenham. Actually, I got an injury against Tottenham. It was a knee injury, little knee injury, little cartilage. Kept coming back, kept breaking down. Of different muscles kept breaking down. It was frustrating. It was horrible, and I was out for 18 months.
And that's the first point in your career that you've really had an injury like that. That's really. But for there, you ended up going to Fulham, I believe. Now,
yeah. So obviously, again, I got back
on loan.
Yeah, I mean. If you look at it, like I said earlier, you want to play football. I'd been in the gym for 18 months in a swimming pool, been around physios. And I remember going down to a surgeon down in London, and he basically said, "Look, what beach do you like?" I said, "Beach." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I suggest you go take early retirement and go and do what you want to do, and maybe find a nice beach and chill out." I said, "Well, that's not me." And I went back. I said, "No." I said to the physio, "That's not me. I'm not having that." So I made sure I went in that gym every day, worked my socks off to get back, and had a few little niggles. It was little niggles, I did, 2 clear outs then of the knee, meniscus. Then I got a spur on my knee, and then I'd get a thigh injury and hamstring injury because you're compensating. And then I just turned around and said to me, no, I'm going back in that gym. I'm going to prove a point. And I did. I proved a point. I went to Crystal Palace, which was magnificent, honestly.
That was
Back to
1999.
Selhurst Park. Magnificent. Stevie Coppell. I played some of the best football of my life down there, honestly. And everybody could see it. I went back to Everton and said, look, I'm ready to play. And it wasn't there. They had young Michael Ball coming through, a good player, Michael Ball. And Walter Smith was like, no, you don't fit into my plan. So I says, okay, then. I could have went back to Crystal Palace, but they really didn't have the funds. They was really struggling. And then Paul Bracewell, who obviously played for England and was in that great midfield with Peter Reid and at Everton when he was really he was the heart and beat of Everton, wasn't he? And he brought me to Fulham. Yeah, really enjoyed it at Fulham and all. Wonderful football club.
Can I ask, did you cross paths with Lee Clark then? I interviewed him.
Yeah, Clarkey was a neighbour of mine. Clarkey was a good neighbour of mine. Great lad, Clarkey. Yeah, keep in touch with him regularly, Clarkey. So, he was fantastic player, Clarkey, wasn't he? And Chris Coleman was there. Andrew Melville was there. Some wonderful players. Lewis Bormota was there. He come down there. Lewis Sahar come down there. You look at these players and you're playing in there. And Tigana come in and we won the championship in his first year. Tigana's first year. All he did is got the lads fit. We bought into his methodology, and that was it. And we ended up winning it. I don't think we lost many games then. I was in and out anyway. I think Rufus Brevet was injured and all at the time. So Stevie Finnan was there and all. So it was a real good group of players. And it was fantastic.
Sorry, it just glitched a wee bit. I was just going to say that's something I've noticed throughout your career. At the dressing rooms, right, you can see the whole squad performs to levels that are above what they would when you look at certain clubs that you're at. The dressing room, Everton, for example, you had Joe Royle and then you had Walter Smith and Howard Kent, and it wasn't quite as settled. And the success there wasn't obviously. There's a lot to be said for a settled club and dressing room, etc.
Well, this is the thing, when you sign for a club, you sign for a club because you believe in where they're going. You sign for a manager because the manager sold you the club and the way he wants to do things. But that's the manager. But upstairs it's completely different, isn't it? Their minds is completely different. You see how football is now. Managers are in for 6 months, they're gone. Another one comes in for a year, they're gone. Another one comes. It's unsettling because then players are worrying, are they going to be there? Are not going to be there? Back in our day, we wasn't probably earning the money the players are earning now. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but in the days back, you fought for everything. If you was on a 2-year contract, you fought for that 2-year contract. And there's nothing worse than when there's managers coming in year on, year out, year in, year out, because it is unsettling and it seemed to be that roller coaster ride where clubs I went to, maybe it was me, maybe I got on the sack, I don't know, or maybe it worked out, but it seemed to be that roller coaster ride all the time, and it is unsettling for players. Ask any player. You want stability. If you haven't got that environment right, then there's going to be no real stability because you don't know whether you're coming or going.
And it's the same in all walks of life, I suppose. If my work's the same, if the manager's leaving and staff leaving, it doesn't settle you. So, no, there's a lot to be said for it in the dressing room. But I'm just winding up with your career. You had a short spell at Sheffield United. You were over in America for 4 years, and you were also retired at New Zealand. Was that your last professional club, Otago United? Is that right?
Yeah. I went over to America, Charleston Battery. I thought, go travelling a little bit. Went over to Charleston. Won a championship over there. It was absolutely fantastic. Got into a wee bit of coaching over there. Started off with, coaching just a local club team, little grassroots club team. Got into it, and I thought, you know what? I've taken a lot out of the game. People have supported me. Now it's time for me to give back,
Yeah.
and give a little back, and of what I've learned from different managers. Obviously, at the grassroots, you're not gonna work them like I worked at, obviously Chelsea or Manchester City under managers. But I think you learn. I think you just take a little bit, and I think it's more like creating that environment again. I keep talking about environment. You've got to create that environment. So that was my first thing when I went into coaching, is creating an environment of nostalgia around the players, younger or older, and just having that fun and happiness with them. Because at the end of the day, some of them might have gone to college, which a lot of them did do. Some of them might fall out of love with football and do something else. But while they're with you, you've got to make sure that environment is a good, homely, happy environment for them, because we don't know what's going on in their own lives. So when they come to you as a coach,
No.
I don't believe in shouting and screaming at them on the football field. I believe in nurturing them and growing them, and explaining to them. Because if you're screaming and shouting at them, you haven't explained to them very much, or your training content
Yeah.
is a little bit bitty. So I think that's key. And I started, falling in love with it. And then, I got an offer to go down to New Zealand. I said, yeah, I love a challenge. Let me go down there, see what it was all about. Was it easy? No. Was it tough? Yes. Was it hard? Yes. But you know what? Wonderful people. And you fall into it, you take the rough with the smooth, and and that's the way it was. I think I played about 6 or 7, maybe 8 games. I was thinking
I've
about
got this
42.
now.
Think about 42 years of age there. It took me probably 4 days to recover.
We've not even touched into your international career. I hope I'm not sorry if I'm keeping you too long, but just before we head there, I've got when you've played over 500 competitive games through your playing career, but internationally 42 caps. This was sort of represented Ireland for 1987 youth levels up to 2000. I mean, how must that have felt? That must have been brilliant. Your parents, who was
Well,
Irish in your family? Sorry.
if you ask anybody, you've got Matthew Letizia, I see behind there. Played against him a few times, and he'll tell you about me if he ever comes on the show again. But I think every boy or girl's dream, whether you're any kind of athlete, is to perform for your country and play for your country. And yeah, I haven't got an Irish accent, but me blood runs green, to tell you the truth. And my family comes from a little place, Tubbercurry in Sligo on the west coast of Ireland. All my family's over there. So I think my mother said to me when she knew I'd played football when I was younger, by the way. She didn't know I'd played football. I used to come in all the dirty kit. My mum, I do play football kind of thing. Oh, I thought you played rugby or something like that, or you just rolled around in the mud, or you was out with your friends. No, I do play football. So she said, "Oh, I remember going to it was a trophy night. You're going to pick your trophies up and that." And I said, "Mum, can you come down with me?" And she went, "Yeah, no problem. I'll come down, see what's happening." So, I won a couple of trophies and that. And she'd come outside. I was around 12, 13 years of age, and I'm going off track a little bit. And she went,
No.
"You know what? I think you should play this game. I think you should go and play this game." And she said, "But there's only one thing. If you do well, which country are you going to play for?" I said, "Ireland." So she said, "We'll go and play the game then." And that was it. And, playing my first youth game, I think my first youth game I played was at Toker Park, maybe against England. And England then, the players they had out there then was unbelievable. Tony Adams, I think maybe Ian Wright would have played in there. Tony Adams, Lee Dixon, Winterburn, Nigel Winterburn, Alan Shearer must have played in that. There was so many quality players. And, I played with obviously now Quinn, Dennis Irwin, John Sheridan would have played in them teams. But it was brilliant, and it was just fantastic, But to win your first cap, don't forget I'd done youth, under 21s, B. So I come right through the ranks, and to get your first cap, which nearly never happened. It nearly never happened, because I remember Morris Setters ringing me up when I was at Wimbledon. Now, the Wimbledon players always played pranks. and prank calls. And they'd phone you up and go, oh, by the way, this is such and such's body from the Sun newspaper. We'd like to talk about the game, and we'd like to talk about certain players in your team, you know. And if you fell for it, you'd be blabbing away. The next day, they'd cane you in the dressing room, you know. So I remember picking the phone up, and it was, Mr. Phelan, this is Maurice Setters, the assistant coach for Jack Charlton at the Republic of Ireland. I said, Dennis, Corky, put the phone down. So I put the phone down. So it rung again. I picked the phone up. We didn't have mobile. I think mobiles were just coming in. It was a house landline at the house, the old ones, you know.
Yeah.
Picked the phone up, and it was, Mr. Phelan, this is Maurice Setters. I'm assistant coach to Jack Charlton of the Republic of Ireland team, and we'd like you over there on Monday morning. I said, look, Dennis, I'm not falling for this. Vinny, I'm not falling for this. Put the phone down. Third time, ring. This is Maurice Setters, Mr. Phelan. Now, this is the last time I'm going to tell you. If you are not on that plane on Monday, and you put the phone down one more time, you'll never play for the Republic of Ireland. So then I was like, hang on a minute, this is a little bit serious, because he was getting a little bit serious. I thought, oh, this is not Dennis. This is not one of the lads making a prank call like and trying to do me a kipper. So I just went, okay then, boom, your tickets will be there when you get to Manchester Airport. Pick your tickets up, and I played against Hungary on the Wednesday. So fine margins, no?
It must have taken about an hour and a half to get through. Everybody said, no, this really is me, because everybody who thought they were at it.
It was quite short and sharp, you know. It was, you know, because the boys did wind you up, and that's what they used to do. They used to wind you up seriously, and then on a Monday you'd go in and they'd rip you to shreds. Like, well, if they didn't rip you to shreds, they'd rip your clothes to shreds or anything like that. So, but no, I think the international career was fantastic. Obviously, I had that stint when I was injured for 18 months. I could have probably reached maybe 80 odd caps, maybe.
Of course.
You know, which I'm not bothered. One cap or 88 caps playing for your country was a wonderful achievement. And, you know, going and playing for them in a World Cup, like I said earlier, I played in the cup final with Wimbledon, you know, playing on the streets. My first World Cup I seen was the 1978 World Cup in, obviously, Argentina. Mario Kempes, Ardiles, Ricky Villa, all them wonderful players. And to play in a World Cup is just the icing on the cake. I don't care what anybody says. It was just amazing. And the Irish fans and you know, Ireland, we brought love and happiness into the country, you know, into households. You know, they couldn't wait for us to come over and play home games. But, you know, if you look at Ireland, 88 Euros, 90 World Cup, 94 World Cup, you know, three big major tournaments there nearly in a row. So you can't really complain, can you, too much? Jack Charlton, Maurice Setters and all his staff, fantastic. And the players and all. Let's not forget them wonderful players what was there.
This channel and video is sponsored by Mango's Virtual Assistant. Mango's VA provides a bespoke, tailored service to fit your business needs, from graphic design, social media management, administrative support and training services. For this channel, the logo was redesigned and thumbnails were branded. If you would like to know more, visit mangosva.com.
It's amazing. When you look back on your career like that, you must be so proud when you look back. And I mean, you moved it. For there, you went into India. Could you just summarise your sort of time in India for us, please, as well?
Yeah. So obviously leaving New Zealand, and then I got an offer to come to India in 2010. I said I love a challenge, and I ended up coming to a little state called Goa, you know, which is like that, a little bit of the Portuguese flavour in there. They love the South American flavour, the Portuguese flavour in there. Wonderful state. It's probably the smallest state in India. Obviously, they speak Konkani there and all. Wonderful place. Stayed at Sace for 2 years, then come back to England. Did a couple of years in England. And then I got the call to come back out and do TV work for 10 Sports, which is Sony Sports now, for the 2014 World Cup. Went out for 6 weeks, covered the World Cup in India, obviously, in Delhi. And then I got asked to run the grassroots program, the technical director for the Kerala Blasters, and help out now and again, with the first team. So, yeah, fell in love with Kerala, moved to Kerala, which is a beautiful state. Malayalam, they speak Malayalam down there. So wonderful state, wonderful food, wonderful people, beaches, mountains, tea plantations, you name it, it's got everything. And the food is really nice. So Kerala Blasters, I was down in Kerala for 4 years, working with the Kerala Blasters and Mutu. So the Kerala Blasters set up all their programs right through Kerala, and then moved to Mutu, who's their sponsor, set up a residential academy there. Spent 4 years in Kerala, and then I was interim coach for the Kerala Blasters for a month, which was great. And if anybody knows Kerala, obviously David James has been over there. People like Trevor Morgan's been over there, and Stevie Coppell's been over there, and so there's a few English lads who have been down there. Wonderful spectacle once the crowd's in. When I was there was probably 65,000 fans in the stadium, just yellow. It was absolutely amazing. Obviously, because of the 2017 World Cup, they had to tailor it down a little bit, put seats in it now, so it's about 45,000. But it was magnificent. Real footballing hub, Goa footballing hub. Kerala, they love that South American flair. Real footballing hubs. And I got the chance to come to the big IT city in Bangalore. So with South United Football Club. And this is going to blow your mind in a minute. There for 6 years as their technical director and sporting director, looking at all different programs within the club, setting the ecosystem up, and all. Wonderful club, South United Football Club, really amazing. What they've done and what the owner's vision is built a football club, not just a football club. He's built a community club where all the community comes in, and he's built an ecosystem in and around different cities now in India, it's been wonderful, and it's been great to have been a part of that, to watch it grow and mature from the early stages. So I'm very privileged that I was at South United, and I say I was at South United. I have now left South United Football Club, and I'm with a sports company called Jane Sports, which is a university, Jane Sports, and they have got some big things coming now, and I'm part of that. And watch this space, because there may be something happening big there, and it could be third time lucky. Obviously, can't say too much. So really watch this space. And when people tap into this, obviously, this podcast, and they see where I was when I was a young boy, I may be somewhere else as a 58-year-old boy and all, still living the dream. So watch this space, everybody. So maybe some exciting news coming. Jane Sports, so just started my program there. Obviously, it's in Bangalore and all. So really looking forward to working hard and building the vision at Spain, Jane Sports, along with maybe somebody else and also. Let's see how that develops.
We'll keep an eye on that. And certainly anything that I see, I'll reshare it as well, so that everybody that's watching this can be notified. But all that remains is just to say, listen, thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to chat with you, talk with different sides of the world we are, and being able to sit down and chat football. It's amazing, Terry, man.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody ever, I know a lot of people, look at India in different ways, and really do look at it in different ways. We have the ups and downs everywhere, but I've never had a problem here. It's been fantastic. The footballing culture, it's there, it's growing, it's getting bigger, and it's getting bigger. National team needs to do better, obviously. The girls have done great, the young boys in the national sides have done great, but the national team has to do better. But we've got a lot of private providers out there now who are pumping their own funds in to grow the game, not just at their own clubs, in that ecosystem. They're looking to grow the game in schools, in different cities. So yeah, it's getting there. It's getting better. It needs more work. Coach education is getting better. We've got younger coaches coming through now. They really want to learn more about the game. Sports science is getting better. Sports management is getting better. So it is getting there. Not just that. It's just the whole operations. It's getting better. It needs more, but we're getting there.
Aye. Well, listen, thank you so much, Terry. It's been ace, man. Just taking a wee chat with you, running over your career. I hope you've enjoyed it half as much as I have. It's been brilliant, mate. Just learning and all that. It's ace, man.
No problem at all. It's a blessing. And it's a pleasure to be here and obviously sharing my little stories with the audience. And if there's anything, what I would always say, if there's obviously parents watching and they've got children and they're in the football circles, let them enjoy it, let them have fun, let them play, let them learn, let the coach learn them, but let them create their own environment and all. And that's all I would say. That's what happened to me on the streets. I had nobody shouting at me from the sidelines. Let them enjoy it and let them have fun and let them create their own environment.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you so much. No problem at all. It's been great, and hopefully we chat soon.
This channel and video is sponsored by Mango's Virtual Assistant. Mango's VA provides a bespoke, tailored service to fit your business needs, from graphic design, social media management, administrative support and training services. For this channel, the logo was redesigned and thumbnails were branded. If you would like to know more, visit mangosva.com.